Michael Hammond. I'm a freshman? Okay, yeah.
You say freshman.
I didn't know if you meant like, yeah, freshman, Mary Washington University Mary Washington.
Yeah.
Basically, I had like a decent downtime of, it was honestly the most of when I was building my relationship with God. It was like, I didn't even have much of like a a place to enhance my spirituality, I guess you could say. And like I wasn't really going to like a church just because like we had a home church, but it kind of fell apart. And so for a little bit of time, it was just kind of like, not a lot of like, I wasn't getting all I needed from like all the spiritual experiences, like going to like Bible studies, I wasn't getting any of that. And so that's kind of what I built my relationship with God on. Once I started school, basically things like Brotherhood, things like anything with the center, just kind of like, it just felt like he kind of tossed me in to just straight up just all this like overwhelming, just engulfing me in like the spirit, and especially with Brotherhood because Brotherhood has been, it's not a place, it's not always like a teaching. It's kind of just like you just come into the presence of the Lord. And there's like, it's, Luke gives great teachings, but it's not just about that. It's not about just teaching people. It's not just about teaching people like what they need to know about God and Jesus and like the Bible, which very important things, but it's also very important to just come in connection with God and just sit in His presence. And I know for me, that has been an amazing healing on things that I didn't even realize how I felt in my heart about. Yeah, it's been great. Just coming into His presence, either in joy or in tears. Basically, just things with my family aren't always the best, and I think a lot of people can relate with that, and specifically towards my father. The past couple times I've come into just the Lord's presence, even just in church, it's been, I just would weep, and it's been healing and also just kind of breaking the hardness in my heart. And last Wednesday, I just felt like the Lord just like shattered my heart. I was telling the guys that we break up into small groups in the beginning, tell how we've been, how like what's on our hearts, and I just told him, I was like, my father came to church with me on Sunday, and all I could think about was him being a hypocrite. I don't think I've been able to call my father and tell him, or talk to my father and tell him I love him and actually mean it, which was pretty severe, I think. I just didn't feel right that he was there, and that was horrible, and I felt horrible for feeling that way. So throughout the week, I was pretty down just because I was feeling that way. And so when I came Wednesday, I told the guys that, and I literally was just like, I just cannot wait to just sit and not even sing, just sit in the presence of God. And that's exactly what I did. The minute worship started, I just found a nice spot and just sat down. The Lord just kept saying this one phrase to me. And it was just based on just like, I think humbling myself, one, and two, just hearing, or like trying to focus more on other people than myself. So he just kept saying, listen to their hearts, hear their cries, over and over again. And every time the phrase was repeated in my head, it just hit me harder and harder. And just thinking about like people in like with the shootings, and just like even in that room, I would just think about like people, like what their hearts are going through. And then he said the same thing, but instead it said, listen to your father's cries, hear your father's heart. I just got the urge, I was just like, I just need to call him. And so I walked out into the little courtyard, and even just the thought of calling him, saying I love him and meaning it was just destroying me. I was just weeping, and tears were like, it was uncontrollable. And so when I did call him, he at first didn't even he was like, what? Because I couldn't even speak right. And I was just like, yeah, I just told him I loved him. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I just literally, I remember I looked up, and like the moon, I was just looking at the moon and everything. And I was just weeping, and it was amazing. And so I came back and again just sat in his presence, weeping even harder, and just continuously I felt like a baby, just sitting there just doing the whole like hyperventilating thing. It was great. But afterwards, it just felt new, and I've talked to him since that time. And he just was like, I just want to thank you for that phone call. And I was just like, To be honest, it was just a time where I just was done feeling how I was feeling, and I wanted to just let that all go, and that's what I did that night. This could be something he needs, because I know how the rest of my family also feels towards him. And so to hear that from someone that he feels like he's lost respect for, I know that is going to be very big, and I know he's connecting with God. He fell out a little bit, but he's definitely coming back. I can see it in him, which is awesome.